Hey guys, my name's Chris and this is Financial Fitness. We've got another episode of the Thunderdome happening right now. Our truckers are trying to get from Canada to US and from the US to Canada to deliver their goods to the people that need them. Very crucial part of our supply chain is truck drivers. Well, it turns out a lot of them aren't taking the stuff that you got to have to cross borders, and they shut them down. That's where this gets interesting. But first, I want to run the footage of what's going on right now. Roll it. That's crazy, right? It looks like they're on their own time out there telling them what they think about it. I'm not saying if it's right or wrong. I can't say anything because they'll take me off the air faster than a cat can lick its butt. But I'm going to get into the zero hedge that talks about it, and we'll talk about that a little bit, if I can do that without problems. Check it out. It will take a few days to see the consequences, but there will be consequences. Keep in mind, any impact that is taking place in the supply chain system that is already strained and unstable at best. A small disruption that may have been minimal, significant against full operation supply chain is more likely to be much bigger disruption in this day's supply chain. You know, our supply chain is under distress. If you haven't noticed it at the stores, you can tell there's gaps behind the food that's on the front. There'll be one item that's strode along the front so you can't see holes. They're doing their best and they've done a very good job of hiding it. The food, the meat, oh man, there's holes all in the meat. There's very minimal chicken when I go. Beef, all that stuff is getting harder and harder to find. And if you know a farmer, I tell you what, if you don't know a farmer that grows cows, you need to make friends with one and have him raise you a cow and butcher it and buy it from him one time a year. That's what I do. I love it. It's the greatest thing ever. It's cost effective and it's super convenient, and you've got a year's worth of beef. It makes sense. If you can do that, think about it. And if you need somebody to do that for you, I can probably hook you up if you're somewhat local. Let's keep going. Somewhere in the range of 16,000 to 38,000 daily loads are likely to be impacted. That's a lot. When questioned about this, Canadian Intergovernmental Affairs Minister LeBlanc says the trucking industry has had adequate time to prepare for this. Keep in mind, the mandate was announced 45 days ago. You've had 45 days to get your stuff together, and now you don't. So we're going to punish people that need goods. That's pretty much it. They're going to punish everybody because you guys didn't do what they said. It really pisses me off, actually. Retail expert Bruce Winder told CTV News Channel Saturday when he asked if the effort will encourage truck drivers to get the you-know-what. He said the mandate throws a major wrench in the Canadian and North American supply chains, he added, with grocers, food supply, auto parts, and building materials among the sectors to be the most affected. I'm going to say that again. Groceries, food producers, auto parts industry, and building materials are among the sectors expected to be the most affected.
Border into Sumas, Washington for the very last time. It's my last visit to the United States. I used to take 2 loads of lumber south and typically 2 loads of steel north out of Seattle. And that contribution to the economy comes to an end today. That's it, I'm done. And I refuse to give in under any circumstances. I'll never comply. If we don't have bodily autonomy, if we don't have control over ourselves, if we don't own our own physical bodies, then we own nothing at all. This is the hill I'm going to die on. I will never back down.
So do with that information what you will. I can just say, be prudent. Let's keep going here. I really hope, now this is a quote, I really hope that we're not at a stage where you see food insecurity, where you actually going to the grocery stores and there's nothing on the shelf, Winder said. That could be the worst case scenario. And if you boneheads keep screwing with the supply chain, doing these little, nicks and jabs, death by 1,000 cuts, if you keep doing these things, there will absolutely be a scenario where you go to the grocery store and it'll be empty. It'll be empty as last year's bird nest. You can't expect anything else. If you screw the supply chain up, what else do you expect? I know what they're doing, and they do too. Mike Millen, president of the Private Motor Truck Council of Canada, says, roughly 20% of Canada's truck drivers operating across the border are unvied. If we remove a fifth of that workforce, we're going to see shortages on shelves, and we're going to see inflation of prices because the cost to bring this stuff here is going to go up. Okay, what does that make you think of? Some people might think of price controls like I did on the Hungry video. I got some backlash in the comments on that. Well, do you think, he said it was because inflation, it's costing more to get goods here. So we should just put a cap on food prices even though it costs the producers this much to get it here. We're going to cap it down here. That's not an option. Get that out of your head. I'll talk more on that later. The truth is, no one knows how bad the disruption will be. What we do know is that there will be disruption, and there is no infrastructure for a level of rig switching at the border cross region that could accommodate changing rigs, drop-offs, pickups, driver transfers on the scale that is being discussed. Logistics here are just a total mess. This whole thing is about like a soup sandwich. And come to look at it, from a 30,000-foot view, it's from government intervention. All this is from government intervention. If they would have just left things alone, not touched nothing, through the whole thing, how much better off would we be if we just let the free market run? Run, baby, run. I'm for liberty and freedom, period. That's the way it's got to be for this machine to run right. Now, I'm going to leave that here. I hope I haven't said anything that's going to get me thrown off the air. But I hope y'all have an awesome day. And I don't want to scare anybody with this news, but it's very important that you get this news and you understand it. And you'll know you might need to prepare a little bit. You know what I like to do, prepare. I like to get 10% at least, 10% in gold and silver. I'll leave the link to SD Bullion in the description below. And I also like to have food, 3, 6, maybe even a year. 3 to 6 months, maybe a year of food. Eat off the front, replace in the back. Keep going to the grocery store just like you're going like normal and just put it on the back. And you'll have 3, 6 months or a year's worth of food at your disposal. You won't go hungry and be miserable when everybody else is. And that brings up a whole nother issue that we can talk about later. But just so you know, I've made this video about 8 times because I said things that I probably should not have. Because I have a really strong opinion on these authoritative things. I don't like it, and it's hard for me to talk about it without really beating them up too much. I hope you liked the video. Hit the like button, subscribe, and ring the bell. I will see you tomorrow.